how Walker Little has such a big impact on what the Jaguars do in the offseason. Let's talk about it here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello. Welcome to the Locked On Jaguars podcast. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of Locked On Jaguars. To all the new listeners, I've been covering this team for about, 13 years now, and I hope you enjoy the show. We are your team every day, and we thank you for making us your first listen. Reminding we are free on all platforms. Wherever you get your podcasts, we will be there for free. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube page as well. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online, available to people worldwide. And they have a special offer for my listeners. Get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp.com/lockedon. All right, talking about a big topic today that has the word little in his name. It's Walker Little. Much of the free agency or pre-draft discussions start and stop with the soon-to-be third-year left tackle from Stanford, Walker Little. And most of it is about making decisions for other players or the approach that this team will have in free agency. So we'll discuss all of that stuff. There's a lot going on here, and there's a lot to unpack when it comes to whether or not Walker Little is the guy who's going to start at either right or left tackle, not only for the future of the Jaguars, but for right now. Right now, as it stands, as it stood at the end of this season, he's a swing tackle. On a really, really good team that can challenge for a title, usually the swing tackle is someone who can probably start for a number of teams. So thinking whether or not Walker Little is or trying to figure out whether Walker Little is starting caliber tackle in this league, sure, he is. You have to ask yourself, is he already as good as he's going to be, and is he ready to start now on a full-time basis? I think the only people that know that are the coaches. And it's not incumbent of them, or it's not something that they should make public knowledge to everyone else who's not in the building. So I don't know if we'll get the answer to that question that we need in anything. And I'm going to be very clear about this. Anything that we do here from me or anybody else is either our opinion or speculation, because where he is, there's Pederson and Rauscher, those two coaches, know better than anyone where Walker Little is at this point. So subsequently, some of the things that they may end up doing will be based on that knowledge that anyone who's not in that building, if they act like they understand it, they don't. And that includes me. So we're here to kind of dissect all of that stuff. Let's give a little sample of what we have seen. The last two games of the year or down the stretch this season when the Jaguars made their run, Walker Little was the left tackle. Did you notice that people looked unblockable? You did not. Were they able to run the ball? They were. So it proves the point that he has been getting better and he has improved. If he's where some of y'all think he is, then you have to ask yourself how much better he is now than he was last summer. Because last summer, the Jaguars had a chance to move on from Cam Robinson, and they didn't. They gave him a long-term extension. That doesn't mean that they didn't think Walker Little had value. In fact, they had Walker Little battling the right tackle, Jawan Taylor, all throughout training camp, and Taylor won. So if Jawan Taylor won at that point, Here's what you have to ask yourself. Do those who are doing the evaluation right now of their offensive line, do they believe Walker Little has gotten to the point now, if he was in a battle now with Jawan Taylor, just like he was last summer, could he beat him out now? That is a big question of whether or not he can beat him out now. We don't know whether he can beat him out now. And if they answer that question as no, then that will tell you that they don't believe that he's better than Jawan Taylor at this point. Do they believe he could beat Cam Robinson out now? Well, if they didn't believe it last summer, they have to ask themselves what happened. So what happened to Cam Robinson was he got hurt. So he's going to have to rehab. And Walker Little probably did get better. I think anyone with a reasonable mind will tell you that Jawan Taylor got better. What I'm trying to get to is this. They're going to have to make a determination who is better. Is it Jawan Taylor? Is it Walker Little? Is it Cam Robinson? And is it Walker Little? And they have to make their decision based on that for this season. The reason why I say for this season is because they don't necessarily have to make a long-term decision right now because Walker Little is only going to be on the third year of a rookie deal. They're going to be paying him swing tackle money. Now you say, well, they already have one tackle in the contract. They got another tackle who wants his money. How can they pay them both? If they let one of them go, then they'll be paying him swing tackle money, and then they can go out and get another alternative. Okay, so let me give you this because I saw a mock draft earlier today. If they decide to let Jawan Taylor walk, and what I'm doing is I'm poking holes in a bunch of different theories. And the Jaguars used the 24th pick on a left tackle prospect who they say, well, next year he'll take Cam's place. We'll let Cam go after next season. In that case, I'd say, why do you just want to keep Jawan and use your draft pick on something else? Keep Walker Little as a swing tackle and let Walker Little take Cam's place next year. That means you'll be only carrying two heavy contracts for tackle players, both tackles. You'll only be carrying it for 1 year. You'll be carrying it for 1 year. That's it. Keep the guy that's proven. If he's good enough for you to let one guy go, keep him another year at his second round money price and then let the guy go next year. But if you draft a tackle in the first round after you let Jawan Taylor go, that tackle as your third tackle is actually going to be making more money than Walker Little, who's your starter. And I know that's not really the point that we're trying to make here, but no, the point is we're kind of making that point. The point is the Jaguars don't have a luxury, in my opinion, if cap space is not real, they don't have a luxury of letting a good player go just to replace him with a first-round pick when that first-round pick could be used on something else. And I don't think Cam Robinson, Walker Little, and a first-round pick who you're training to be your eventual left tackle, I don't think they're better than Cam Robinson, Jawan Taylor, and Walker Little as he is now. Because if you think they are, then you probably should have cut Cam last year, or Walker Little should have beat Jawan Taylor out, or that means you're saying that whoever you're going to pick at 24 is already better than Walker Little is right now as a swing tackle. No, it's just too much. It's too much stuff. It's just too much grease man stuff here. You're jumping from pole to pole to pole. I don't want to hear about compensatory picks. Keep Jawan Taylor. Bring all three of them into camp. If Cam isn't ready, guess who starts at left tackle? Walker Little. When Cam does get ready, he can either play left guard or he can be the swing tackle. The money's already allocated. It does not matter. Or when you get closer to the approach to the trade deadline, if somebody wants a veteran left tackle, there you go. And then at some point, if you drafted another player in the third round that can play guard or tackle, that can play a swing position, or if you use a fourth round pick on a developmental guy, well, there you go. You're not going to be foolproof in any of these situations. In fact, the most foolproof thing that you can do is to keep all three guys right now while Walker Little's on a rookie deal. You're not going to be protected from injuries. They happen. My question is, why rush it? Why rush Walker Little on the field? And if the only reason you give me is because, well, if he plays, that means we don't have to pay Jawan Taylor. That's not a good enough reason. The reason why you should rush players on the field is because they're too good for you to keep them off of it. Period. If they're not too good for you to keep them off of it, then there's no reason to force him. And the other thing is, as this team gets better and they start challenging for more stuff, they're supposed to have players that can probably start that aren't. That's what happens. I mean, too many times in the past, I think what we've gotten used to around here is we've just flat out got used to the fact that the Jaguars aren't very good, and you know who their starters are. And the bottom line is, even with those starters, usually amongst those groups or that group, there are a couple of guys that probably shouldn't be on the field that you're being protected or covered up by guys who are already starting. We, I think, just have to get to the point where we start understanding how a team is supposed to look when the team actually improves. We'll go over more of that here in segment 2 on Locked On Jaguars in just a second, after I let you know more about today's sponsor, and that today's sponsor is BetterHelp. Listen, man, BetterHelp is amazing. They've been amazing for me. They've been amazing for my family. And I've gotten some tutorials from people telling me that they thank me for introducing them to BetterHelp, because life comes at you fast, man, and it doesn't come with an instruction manual. It just absolutely does not come with an instruction manual. And sometimes you have to know how to get back on track. I've had a couple of trying things through the years, whether it be from divorce, and lately it's been because of depression that deals with pain management. Well, therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people with licensed therapists, and it's convenient, secure, and accessible anywhere, and it's 100% online. Everyone deserves to feel their best, and BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. Get unstuck with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Don't try to do it by yourself, man. Get some professional help, and there's no place I think is better than BetterHelp. All right, man, rolling along here, I'm going to let you know that today's sponsor is also FanDuel. That's right. FanDuel, man, I have been dealing with FanDuel for an awful long time, and I am so happy they are now a part of the team here at Locked On. It is the number one sports book in the world. That's right. Hands down. Nothing else to say about it. They are just the GOATs. We want to talk about the GOAT, Tom Brady, and all of these. The GOAT, when it comes to sports books, is FanDuel. You can join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet. Now, you want to know what that is? Your no sweat first bet. Even if you lose on your initial bet or your initial sign up at FanDuel.com, you claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. It's FanDuel.com/lockedon. That you have a chance. You get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. That's right. No sweat first bet, all on Super Bowl 57. Make sure you tap in at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. And I hope you're locked in here on Locked On Jaguars. making us your first listen. We appreciate you because it is your team every day. Big week coming up, Super Bowl week, Radio Row. Check out all across the Locked On Podcast Network. My man Peter Bukowski is going to be down there working it, so hopefully we can get some stuff generated with some Jaguars that he is able to find, and then make sure you look at Locked On NFL and all of the Locked On NFL network related shows for all these Super Bowl coverage this week. Why rush it? Why rush Walker Little? I said let competition be competition, play, and film, the thing that a lot of us aren't privy to. I know we look at all 22. We don't know how these guys are responding on a daily basis. This is where, if you're going to ever get better, we need to start trusting the people that's making the team better. And I know it's been hard to trust management over the years. Shouldn't be too hard now, though, to trust Doug Pederson and to trust his judgment along with Coach Rauscher and figuring out who's going to be the starters next year. There's no reason to rush it. I mean, they already said it's not about cap space, it's about cash. And as long as things are reasonable, they want Jawan Taylor back. Now, Jawan overprices himself to the point where he makes it to the point where if he gives you a number that the Jags just don't think he's worth, and see, this is what comes back to what I call blind evaluation. Not worrying about who you got, what you got, and all of this stuff. It doesn't mean that you're not going to overpay a dude. Because according to everyone, the Jaguars overpaid Christian Kirk. I don't think they did. They said they overpaid Zay Jones. They may have, but they also had a glaring need and had to address those positions. And it's not easy to find help at those spots. So they did what they had to do. The blind evaluation here, you can just look at him, Jawan Taylor, and Walker Little, and just take it for what it's worth. Is he ready? How good is he? What about Cam? If Cam comes back at full strength, is that the full strength you want protecting Trevor Lawrence? And this is the part where sometimes we let it go over our heads, that Trevor Lawrence is the franchise quarterback here, folks. You do have to protect your number one asset, which is your generational talent at quarterback. There should be no expense spared in order to do that. The difference is that protecting Trevor looks different when you're doing it all from outside of the house, the way they did with their wide receiver core. I think we take it for granted when the people that can protect Trevor are all in-house, and we have to decide who we're going to pay and who we're not going to pay. I don't think the presence of Walker Little should have folks ready and eager to move on from Jawan Taylor. I also think that if you're going to move on from Jawan Taylor, play Walker Little at right tackle, and then use a first or a second round pick on another tackle that you hope eventually replaces Cam Robinson next year, and then you have to find another tackle to be your swing tackle, I think you're doing yourself a disservice and you're creating too much work for yourself. You're overthinking it based on this micro approach of looking at what the cap number is this year. When clearly, if you're ready to do what you think you're going to do, you're looking down the road. I don't think that the reason why I say don't rush it is because I don't think this is a just this year decision. I think this comes down to how good do you think Jawan Taylor is? If you're Doug Pederson and Trent Baalke, how good do you think Walker Little is? And the answer has to be honest, and it has to be right because of Trevor Lawrence. Period. Point blank in discussion. I think they know what they have in Cam Robinson. They have to figure out whether that's enough, and it was last year. And just like the wide receiver position, these positions and these tackles, it's not easy to replace them. They don't come easily. So we really have to take a look at all of this stuff before we make this decision. I'm going to tell you what I think that they will do. And I'm going to tell you what I believe based just on me putting a whole bunch of information together. I'm going to tell you what I think their line of thinking is. And I'm going to do that based on Nothing except my gut feeling. I'll do that in the third and final segment here in just a moment. After I let you know that today's show is brought to you by Blue Nile. Valentine's Day is coming up, which means romance is in the air for some of us more than usual. I don't need to tell you all the lovebirds. You probably had your date plans on the calendar for weeks. Lord, I know, I hope, because if you didn't, you're in trouble. But you found the perfect Valentine's Day gift yet, have you? Whether you're celebrating the day of romance or whether you're ready to pop the question, you can find jewelry as unique as she is. It's nice. With the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com, you can afford the perfect piece of jewelry for life's special moments or even create the custom engagement ring of her dreams. I bought my wife a nice pendant 2 years ago on Blue Nile, and we talk about it all the time. Right now, you can save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com for up to 50% off. BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com. All right, man, we're rolling along here and talking about this offensive lineman situation. So I don't want to give you guys the impression that I have inside knowledge about this, because I don't. I also don't want to give you the impression that I don't think that they have three very capable offensive linemen, because I do. Just like last year when I was saying, hey, man, we need to trade and get something for Walker Little. It was all that was all predicated on the fact that, okay, they made the commitment to pay Cam Robinson. And at the time that I said that, during the middle of the season, Juwan Taylor was playing lights out. I thought he was headed to an all-pro year, and he was the best offensive lineman on this team. That's why I said that. And then folks killed me because they're saying, you're killing your depth. You're going to need him. You're going to need, why would you get rid of him if you're going to make a run? Well, at some point, the Jaguars were 2-7. Cam Robinson got hurt. Walker Little came in. They went mad on a mad run and they went 7-1 over the last 8 games. And people told me, see, you needed him. You wanted to get rid of him, but you needed him. You're right, I did. Because you can't foretell injuries. So now I'm telling y'all, I'm giving y'all the advice. I'm taking like a boomerang. I'm taking that advice and I'm throwing it right back at you, saying, why would you get rid of him right now? You don't need to make this move. Don't tell me about nothing about no salary cap. The cap ain't real. What if Juwan Taylor had made All-Pro? Now, in the minds of the Jaguars people, he may have been an All-Pro in their thinking. But what if he had made an All-Pro and got validated by everybody else around the league? What would you think? Would you think, okay, just let him walk? No, you wouldn't. That's why I say, to this day, the most important part of this evaluation obviously comes from the offensive line coach and the head coach and the GM about, first, what they think and what they believe and who they believe Juwan Taylor is. And then they have to do an evaluation of Walker Little. Who is Walker Little? What is he at this point? What is he going to be? I think the Jaguars, by making the playoffs, can't afford to look too far in the future, because the future is now. This team can play right now. This team, if with a little bit more improvement, can line up right now and play with a lot of people. So why wouldn't you think about what's best for right now? Especially if you can tell me, well, if this was 2024, we'd go ahead and keep him because we have more salary cap space. You can keep him now. You can keep him now, the small base salary this year with a huge bonus that you give it to him now and it doesn't count until later. That's not a problem. So sometimes with this evaluation, what I'm doing is I'm getting lost when I listen to other people and they say, well, move on because you have Walker Little. Because ideally, when you're a great team, at some point, you're going to lose players every single year and you're going to need players behind them to recover. The Jaguars as an organization are not there yet. They've had one good season and what feels like 2 good seasons in the last 10 years. You can't afford to let good players go, especially not ones that they have put all the work in. You can't go be in the farm system for everyone else. You need to be the farm system for yourself. Keep him, keep Walker Little. But like I said, the evaluation of Walker Little at this point is going to talk about whether all of this, it needs to be looked at like this with Trevor Lawrence especially. Is Walker Little so good that we can't keep him off the field? Or are you looking at him like he's good enough that we don't have to pay for another tackle? Even though most people, if you ask them, they rather if they could lose one of these tackles without financial consideration or retribution, most people would say, well, just let Cam go and let Walker play left end. Because that's what we saw at the end of the year when they went 7-1. But even the people that feel like that are really content with saying, well, since you can't let Cam go because of all the financial ramifications, just let Juwan Taylor walk and let Walker. Okay, well, with Cam Robinson's financial ramifications, they kind of go away next year. So you're going to make a 10-year decision. You're going to reduce it to a 1-year decision, or you're going to be smart and say, we don't have to do anything. We just got to pay Juwan Taylor, and we can make the money show up next year. And when the money shows up next year, that's when we'll be letting Cam go. And then guess what? Walker Little will be a year better. Like I said, unless Walker Little's so good you can't keep him off the field. My gut feeling is that's not the truth. My gut feeling is they're going to pay Juwan Taylor. They're going to keep Walker Little, obviously, at his rookie scale. They're going to say Walker Little will get a lot of reps in practice in training camp as the left tackle because Cam's coming back from an injury. They're going to do what is absolutely best for the football team once both are healthy. And when both are healthy, the strength of this team will be the fact that they got a real good dude sitting at backup tackle who can play right or left tackle. That's just it. That's my gut feeling. And I think they're going to let all of this stuff get figured out next offseason because the decision that everyone wants them to make, they can make that decision next season. They can look at Cam and say, you know what, it's time. They can do it at the trade deadline. If they think that they have somebody else behind them who can be in a pinch, be the third or the swing tackle, you may see somebody move somebody at the trade deadline. But either way, I think you take all three of these good football players into training camp and you go from there. It is Super Bowl week. We'll be getting more and more information and getting closer to who will do what. We'll review at some point this week who the winners and losers were at the Senior Bowl. And we'll do all of those things as we continue to give you the coverage here every single day on Locked On Jaguars because it's your team every day. All right, man, until next time, we'll see you. Y'all take care of each other. And thank you for joining me again on Locked On Jaguars.